We're going to move into the question and answer period now, and that will be run by Jim Sacco, who's been patiently waiting here with his little basket.
The next question is for John Orzel. Would you support a constitutional convention in dialogue on the topic of pension entitlement in the state constitution?
Well, I guess pension reform in the public sector, it wouldn't be just schools now, it's anybody who's working in the public sector. I guess got to go back. It's not so much a matter of the state constitution as that I think it is the question that would be applicable to the Taylor Law that was passed in the late 1860s, which took away the right of people in the public sector to strike. We look at what's happening in Chicago, technically that can't happen here. Because that Taylor Law says for every day that you would be out on strike, you lose 2 days' pay. Plus also, your union leadership ends up going to jail. We took away your right to strike, but what we did give you was the right to engage in a collective bargaining process. That's guaranteed. So when it comes to negotiations to those people in the public sector, you sit down at a negotiating table, with whomever your employer would end up being. Obviously in a school system, it's going to be a teachers union versus the school board of education or representatives of that, and you take a look at the business about health insurance coverage. Who's going to pay for that? Are you going to provide that? What percentage of that are we going to end up paying? So I don't think it's a question of amending the state constitution to deal with it. I think that we've got to bring it back to the collective bargaining process and what you would end up doing at a negotiating table.
This question is for John Orzel. Where do you stand regarding unfunded mandates?
I'm opposed to unfunded mandates. To give you a case in point, the 2% tax cap that resulted in school systems having to cut a lot of school personnel, both professional and support staff, curtailing programs, eliminating programs, having to bite the bullet. Because in essence, that 2% tax cap put them into a straitjacket. School systems don't have control over a lot of those costs. And I find that rather ironic. At the same time that they did that, this year they've added another mandate. It's in reference to what? Something that's very, very important. Bullying in schools. The state has adopted a curriculum, it's just adopted a program whereby now schools have got to start addressing that. And it may necessitate schools actually having to hire people to direct that. So at the same time that you're putting these constraints on them with a tax cap that's resulting in them having to eliminate a lot of people, now you're turning around and telling them, hey, you need to hire this person to do that. I don't approve of unfunded mandates. Donna had mentioned that earlier. Initially into the Cuomo administration, he had appointed a panel to take a look at unfunded mandates, and I think it was roughly $150 million that they were able to eliminate on the spot. That really, truly is a drop in the bucket. I don't think they should have stopped it. They need to continue exploring what other mandates we have here that are outdated, they're no longer necessary, and if possible, to eliminate them. I'm not in favor of unfunded mandates.
Next question is for John Orzel. What is your stance on hydrofracking in New York?
Many would say that I'm sitting on the fence. I'm willing to do that. I await, like many of you await, the decision from the DEC. A lot of time, energy, and effort has gone into their investigation and studies. There have been numerous hearings. There's been a lot of testimony. They've been able to gather a lot of information from many different directions. And we're waiting for them to come to some kind of determination. People are making a big mistake if they think somehow the DEC is going to come out and just simply say no or yes. That's not going to be the case. Especially if it ends up being that they say yes. They set off some kind of starter's gun and everybody's going to run around and drill baby drill. No. It's been an ongoing, careful, studied process that needs to continue. Am I opposed to this? If it should come to the point that I guess I've been asked that question, if you were in the Senate and this all came down to one vote yours, the answer is no. I don't imagine that happening. Don't imagine that happening. But being that we have this capitalistic ideology where if you can get the factors of production together, that you can go out and pursue wealth, however much or little that may end up being, as long as that does not end up harming me, go for it. Government, I turn to my government for protection. I do not own a lot of property. It's not going to be any kind of property that anybody's ever going to drill on or be interested in, but I have interest in that property. That interest being the land itself, the air I'm breathing, and the water that I'm drinking. So if she owns property right now and she wants to drill on that property, what I want is, I want the guarantee to the greatest extent possible that we're going to eliminate those risks or minimize them to the point that I'm going to be safe.
Next question is for John Orzel. Should New York State raise the minimum wage anytime in the next 2 years?
Yes, I think they should. It's been a long, long time since that's been raised. Everybody, you know, I think is entitled to be able to make a wage that's going to be good enough to be able to support their families. I think we're at that breaking point where, given the downturn in the economy, that people need that increase in wage. I support that.
You need a lawyer? If you can wait, I'll give you my card over there. It looks like you have a soft tissue injury.